Hello there, cat people. Dan the Catman here, and I'm here with our resident cat behavior expert, Stephen Quandt. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Dan. It is always great to be here with you.
And we're starting a new mini series called Cat Treats. I wanted to call it catnip, but I didn't like that. So we went with cat treats. Catnips, I don't know. It just didn't sound as good. A lot of our episodes have been very long lately, so we thought we'd do shorter episodes kind of interspersed with the marathons where we answer one question related to cat behavior. And who better than our resident cat behavior? I'm pointing to you like you're in the same room. Who better than
Feels
our
like it,
like
almost, you know.
almost like our resident cat behavior expert, Stephen Quandt of catbehaviorhelp.com. The link to his website will be in the description. And if you have a question of your own related to cat behavior help, please let us know in the comments and we may feature that in a future cat treat episode. And if we do, we won't send you a t-shirt because we don't have merch yet. But that being said, so at some point we can do merch, I guess. But here is the first question, and this is a cat behavior question. And this came to me basically from a Facebook comment on a photo I posted of my cat Taylor. So for those that don't know the background, Taylor, and Stephen does work with ACC in Manhattan, and Taylor is an alumni of ACC. He came to live with me we're recording this on March 16th. So March 18th will be exactly 2 years to the day that he came here from ACC. And
To be
he's so,
clear, ACC is the Animal Care Centers of New York City.
yes, thank you. And he is between 15 and 17. No one, you'd have to count his rings. No one ever knows for sure how old he is. But he's somewhere between 15 and 17. And his backstory from the paperwork that Stephen you shared with me in your work with ACC is he lived in an apartment in Manhattan with two other cats. And at some point in early 2023, his owner died. And at that point he was going by the name Zimbabwe, which is a very unusual name for a cat. And his owner died, and the super of the building he was living in basically kicked him and the other two cats out. And by chance, a good Samaritan that was feeding other cats nearby this building happened to see him with his two roommates huddled by the building with nowhere to go in like cold weather. And she called somebody she knew, and the Zimbabwe then and his two roommates ended up at ACC. They got transported to ACC. Unfortunately, the other two cats passed away pretty quickly after arriving. They weren't well, from what I understand. Taylor had a lot of difficulty adjusting. In addition to the paperwork, there's a volunteer named Evelyn that posted 3 videos on her own YouTube. She posts videos.
She
I've
makes great
since
videos.
I've since gotten to know her. I've only recently seen the videos. She posted 3 videos of Taylor's what progress he made in like late January and February. He definitely struggled at first when he was there. He was pretty withdrawn and hiding in the litter box and not interacting when they would try to give him the squeeze up treats and the toy interactions. And through a rescue on Long Island, who pulls cats from ACC on occasion, at a chance Facebook post, I fell in love with this picture. I reached out to this rescue and I said, I'll take him. Just get him out of there. I'll take him. And so that was literally just about 2 years ago. And they said, we don't know how he's going to do. He's been through a pretty traumatic experience, but he's in pretty good health. He had some dental work. They had to do some dental work for him. But they said he's in pretty good health for his age. He was 13-ish. And he's worth seeing if he'll do well in another home. So I took him in as a foster. Foster failed 4 times. So there, congratulations. I'm the world's worst foster. I host a podcast and I suck at fostering. The first night, he cried all night long. I don't know if out of confusion or what. He was very out of sorts. He hid under the bed and then he sat at the bedside and he cried all night, just continuously. And I sat with him on the floor and he wouldn't interact with me. It's just to my uneducated eyes, he just seemed very confused and out of sorts. But within, I'd say, a week or two, there was this like the clouds parted and this change came over. And he just realized, hey, this ain't a bad home. I'm happy. This is cool. I have other cats to hang out with. This dude seems okay. He doesn't go anywhere too often. He seems cool. He looks like he's in decent health. And it just he became this amazing cat. And I bonded with him in no time at all. I'd say within a month, it felt like he was always here. And so one of his habits is I work from home. By day, I work in healthcare. And he likes to sit on the corner of the desk in my office and watch me work. And he gets this like loving look in his eyes when he watches me work. Like, what I'm doing is the most fascinating job he's ever seen in his life. And he gets this look of love in his eyes. It's the only way I could describe it, is this look of, you're the greatest person I've ever known. And he'll just sit and watch me and I'll pet his head. And I have a habit of, my phone is there because I need it for work, and I'll take a picture of him. Most of the time it's the same picture because he's making the same pose on the same corner of my desk. Like, you're just so awesome. Like, oh, and literally and I posted the picture and I get, how cute. He looks great. He doesn't look like he's 15. One of the comments that stuck out to me was, you see the look of love he has for you in his eyes. Those are the exact words of the Facebook comment. And that's why we're doing this episode, that he has that look of love in his eyes for you. So it made me want to ask you specifically, is the concept of, to speak from Brooklyn, seen some shit. He's seen some shit in his time. That to me is a traumatic experience. Owner dying, being kicked out of your home by mean super. I'm thinking, what, Lady Hannigan from Annie, like this horrible person kicked them out. The two cats he lived with died. It's just a traumatic experience. How can a cat recover from that and bond with somebody else? How do cats recover from what I'm perceiving as trauma? Is that something that a cat experiences? How do they transfer love to somebody else like that late in life is also part of the question. So that's as long-winded a question as I've ever done.
No, but it's important that you were able to give the backstory so that we would understand the context. Before I even try and answer it, are we allowed to give a shout out to the rescue in Long Island that was involved?
Yes.
And who were they?
They were alley cats rescue.
Okay, great. So there's a kind of way of answering the question from a behavior point of view, but I'm also going to give you an analogy. And by the way, we see this all the time at ACC. We see cats that come to us from a former home, and a lot of them do really great. They move into the shelter and they're happy as a clam, and others are stressed out and unhappy. And it kind of begs the question, why would you be happy if I gave you all this love and you had a great life? Why are you going to be so disloyal, right? And just go into a kennel and be happy. So there are a couple different things at work, but here's my analogy, which we've talked about briefly on a different occasion, which is, how when you were in school, you were a kid, you're in grade school, and whether it was your first grade teacher, right, or another teacher, how you just loved them so much. It was this bond. You felt like you were cocooned in the warmth of their loving embrace. And just being in the room with them gave you this, I can remember it, I can actually feel it, gave you this feeling of warmth and security. And then you left first grade and you went to second grade and you made a new attachment. And then you went to third grade and you did it again. And maybe, some teachers more so than others. And maybe you reach an age, because we're humans and we have different developmental stages than cats, but you reach an age where maybe you don't form as that kind of bond at a certain point. But in those early years, we were forming and reforming those bonds. And it's natural because the teacher is giving us what we need: kindness and support and security and encouragement. And we respond to it. And what's in the moment, ultimately, I think, is more powerful than what's behind us, or at least over time. How we talk about time being the great healer. Well, it's also the evolver. Things evolve and change. But if I jump to a more technical answer, to me, there are two different forces at work that can intersect with each other. One force is, who is this cat? In other words, some cats are easily upset, high strung, nervous cats or stressed out cats. One of my cats, Jenny, my lovely blind from birth girl, you make one little change to her dinner and she looks at me with her unseeing eyes as if to say, what is chef doing tonight? You've ruined my meal and you've ruined the rest of my day. Our other cat, Cricket, she is tranquility itself. When I saw her for the first time at an event, it was a best friends Animal Society event, and they had different groups. And in this case, Angelical Cats was the organization that had Cricket. And Cricket was just sitting in this kennel all day long. I was standing next to her. I was working the event. And she was calm the entire day, completely peaceful. And I kind of realized by the end of the day that this was the cat we were looking for as a companion to Jenny. And she came home and she was immediately a happy cat. And I can tell you without any doubt that if I were, God forbid, and I'm just saying this as an example, but if I were to put her in a kennel, and she's been in kennels since then, she's had to been hospitalized a couple times. So long as you're not making her life unhappy by taking her blood pressure, she's as calm as can be, because that's kind of who she is. So some cats just adapt really quickly. The other thing that can be going on is, if you think about what you're providing for your cat, you're providing food, comfort, stability, security, companionship, and play, right? All the umbrella of everything that is good. And if we take those things away from a cat, depending on who the cat is, right? That's where the intersection of these two different forces come into play. Depending on who that cat is, they may get very upset because they are not experiencing all those wonderful things. It's hard to quantify what cat memory is all about, but we know that they have memories. They may not be visualizing their former home, and they may be, for all I know, but they are certainly feeling the absence of it. They are not getting their expected meal. Their companion is not there. The smell and the loving embrace that you provide are not there. But if they are replaced by other things that are more or less equally embracing, warm environment, good meals, human companionship, they may act like the first grader who goes, or the second grader, oh, here's my new teacher. And bless you, Dan, you're giving me 3 meals a day, tasty, whatever it might be. And you're petting me and you're giving me the time and the space to calm down. And some cats need, I kind of think of a week or two as the classic amount of time that it takes a lot of cats to get over this. Some do it very quickly, immediately, or 1 day or 2 days. Others take a week or two, some take longer. But I watch it happen over and over and over again. There is a routine that is built in. My food comes at this time of the day. The petting comes at this time of the day. And routine is fundamentally calming to cats. So again, depending on who they are, how much time they need to adjust, and how quickly all those important things are given to them again, they can make the decision that things are okay.
Fascinating. So it's really, if I'm understanding, it depends on the cat and depends on the environment.
Yep. The cat, the environment.
So I in a way, I lucked out with him. He's adjustable. I'm trying to think of the word. He overcomes. He perseveres. I mean,
Flexible.
He had his health scare last fall, and the fang fell out on its own. And knock on wood, he's fine. He's just living with less teeth. He doesn't have many left at his age, but he don't tell him it's a problem. He's fine with it. He still crunches his crunchy food. He still has his crunchy treats. He's just, some cats are he just perseveres. Like I said, he's seen some shit and he's seen it all, and he's just this happy, loving cat. So I always say I just find him an extraordinary cat. I love all cats. They're all great. Some just, like my first cat, Tyler, is the gold standard for me that I compare all cats to, even when I probably shouldn't. He's up there as just this extraordinary cat that came to me late in his life, in the Lion in Winter. He's just this extraordinary cat. They all love him. He chases the girls all day long. He sees any of the female cats, he runs out, not to be mean. He just wants to hang out with them. He wants to chase and play. It's never, they don't react to him. Sometimes they're like, dude, you're old, get away from me. But he's this just happy. He doesn't act his age. He runs and plays faster than the younger cats most of the time. You wouldn't know. No one's told him he's, a teenager. He's just this extraordinary cat. So that's why when I got that comment, I wanted to ask you that question. I just found it fascinating.
So one last thing I want to offer, which is that to some extent, when we talk about his past trauma, to some extent, we're catastrophizing his former life. Owner died. Super was mean. Kicked him out. Well, he didn't necessarily see it that way. He might not have known his owner died. And even if he did, death is a natural process for cats. The super wasn't necessarily mean to him. Super got rid of him, but maybe all that he thought, all that he perceived was, I'm going someplace new. And it's a little bit hard for me, but the new place was a good place. And then that, the rescue, and then he came to you.
But what makes having you on this show, and then we'll close, what makes you such a valued part of this show is, and I'm sure you've heard this in every client you've dealt with in your practice, and catbehaviorhelp.com, he has questionnaires. If you would like to seek out Stephen's services, he has questionnaires on his website. So go to catbehaviorhelp.com. I can have a continued habit of humanizing these things on cats. I put like my human emotions, expectations, experiences on the cat. And I think I may have posed this question by putting a human spin on it. Like you just said, he's like, all right, well, today I'm going here. This sucks, but I'll get over it. I put a human, I'll never love again. It's like me after my last relationship. And cats just don't think that way, is what from our continued conversations, cats just don't think like humans. And I keep falling into the same trap of putting a human emotion onto the cat. You know what I mean?
It's a natural trap, though, because we confuse our love for them and their love of us as being human. They're not. They are not, obviously, they're not human beings. And our love for them is real. Their love for us is real, but it is between two different species. And we have to understand that they only think of things through the lens of who they are and their species, as do we. So, yeah. And
Awesome. Well, this is perfect. Thank you so much. We're going to do more of these. So if you have a behavior-related question related to a cat, your cat, or any cat, reach out to us in the comments. You can comment on Spotify. You can comment on YouTube, or our links will be in the descriptions. You can reach out to us on social media. And we'll be doing more of these. And Stephen, thank you so much for doing this. This is very, very fascinating. And the overarching moral of the story is, please go to ACC if you're nearby, or your ACC-like facility or your local rescue. Please consider adopting a senior cat, because they deserve it as much as the younger cats do. They deserve a second chance. And they make extraordinary... I was nervous. I had never adopted a cat that old before. The oldest was, I think, 6. So this was as new for me as it was for him. And it's just one of my top 5 most rewarding experiences of my life is giving him this home and this kind of retirement that he deserves. So, Stephen, thank you for what you do, and thank you for being part of the show. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Great.
For now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.